Yo, what's going on, guys? Michael Jordan of the Copy Dog back with another Overwatch League video, and today we're talking stage playoffs. It's the last week. This week, this entire stage flew by really fast. I didn't even realize it was the last week, especially with the Dallas Homestead last week. That was pretty cool. But it's almost playoff time, so let's talk about the teams. Who do I think is gonna make it? Who's not gonna make it? Let's just get into it. So we have 5 teams already confirmed. We have the Los Angeles Gladiators, the San Francisco Shock, Vancouver Titans, New York Excelsior, and London Spitfire. And honestly, I think all of 5 of these teams are going to remain in the top 5 spots. Unless New York somehow loses to Atlanta again, which, I mean, it's happened once, why can't it happen again? But I think so with 5 spots already taken, there are 3 spots left. And out of those 3 spots, there's still 11 teams in the running. Charge, Justice, Outlaws, and Mayhem can't make it, but all the other teams have a shot at making it. Some have a easier shot than others. So let's talk about who I think is going to make it. The first team who I think is a shoo-in, guaranteed, is going to be the Dallas Fuel. They're going against the Florida Mayhem, arguably the worst team in the league right now. I don't think they'll have a shot against Dallas, especially coming off a hot 2 week that they had. I think Dallas is a shoo-in for this playoff, finishing 5-2 with a +7, because I think they're going to win 4-0 against Mayhem. I think that's just an obvious one. The next team that I think is going to make it, I think it's going to be the Chengdu Hunters. They go against the Los Angeles Valiant, and if they win this game 3-1, they'll have a pretty good shot at making it. They'll have a +4, and that should be good enough to make it into the playoffs. And then the final team I think is going to make it, I don't know which one to pick, so I'm going to say either the Hangzhou Spark or the Seoul Dynasty. So Hangzhou Spark right now is 4-2 with a -3, which means if they were to lose the Dynasty, they'd have a negative map differential, and both the Hunters and Shanghai, if they win and lose one, would make it above simply because of map differential. So Hangzhou, it's a do or die. They make it or they don't. And then for Seoul Dynasty, they're probably going to lose to the Titans. But if they do beat the Titans, then they might actually make it above the Hunters, because their map differential right now is pretty good. But if they lose to the Titans 3-1 or 3-2, right? If they lose 3-2, they'll have a +5 going up against the Hangzhou Spark. And then if they lose that 3-2, they'll be 3-4 and they won't make it. So I think that last spot is going to be the Hangzhou Spark and Seoul Dynasty. Whichever one of those teams wins their game will make playoffs. That is going to be my prediction. It's kind of like the Boston Uprising versus Dallas Fuel last stage. I said whichever team won that game would make it, and I was right as always, because, I'm good. Also, sorry for the laundry in the back. I'm lazy. Doesn't matter. But let's talk about these other teams that do have a chance of making it. I just have to pull up the schedule real quick. So the next team we have is Philadelphia Fusion, but they are going against the San Francisco Shock. So they would have to beat the Shock, and they'd have to beat them either 3-1 or 4-0 in order to make it. And Shock are undefeated in both games and maps. They haven't dropped a map yet. So I see this highly unlikely that the Fusion beat the Shock. So I'm going to say they don't make it. And along with that, we have Boston Uprising. They have to beat both the Gladiators and Washington Justice. Washington Justice actually may be harder than they thought, because now they have Sleepy, who is arguably one of NA's best flex supports and one of the best in the league, especially last season. And they've had 2 weeks off, basically. So there is a chance that Boston would lose this game. But even if they won this one, which they would have to do 4-0, they also have to 4-0 the Gladiators to have a +1 map differential. And with that, they need Shanghai and Chengdu to lose. And they need Seoul Dynasty to win both games, or just one of them. They have to beat the Spark. And if all that happens, then Boston have a chance of making it. So they have to 4-0 both their opponents, need Chengdu to lose, need Fusion to lose, need Shanghai to lose both games, or at least have a worse map differential. I don't see it happening. And then the next team, all these other 3 teams have 4 losses, and so far we didn't see a team with 4 losses into playoffs, but it's still mathematically possible that these teams make it. The next one has to be Atlanta Reign, is the Atlanta Reign. They have to basically 4-0 New York to have a 0 map differential with 3 and 4. And then after that, they need Spark and Fuel to win, and they need Shanghai, Chengdu, Philly, and Boston. They need Boston to lose 1 game, and then they need Shanghai, Chengdu, and Philly lose their games, and they need Seoul Dynasty to lose both their games. So it still could happen. Obviously, this could all happen. Especially, I think the Fusion are going to lose. I think the Dragons are going to lose to the Shock for sure. And if the Shock 4-0 them, then they'll have to win their game 3-1 against the Washington Justice, which is possible. But no, they have to lose to the Washington Justice. Sorry, they can't win. They have to lose to Washington Justice, and they have to lose to Shock. So I don't see Atlanta Reign making it. Same thing with Paris Eternal. They have to 4-0 the Toronto Defiant. Atlanta doesn't matter. They just can't win 4-0. And then again, they need Boston to lose 1, Fusion to lose, Chengdu to lose, and Shanghai to not have a plus, Shanghai to lose both games. And they need Seoul Dynasty to lose both games. So Atlanta and Paris are in the same boat because they are both 13 in the standings, but I don't see it happening with either of those. So next we have the Los Angeles Valiant, and I can't even think of a way for them to make playoffs because first off, they need to beat 4-0 against the Chengdu. They have a -3, right? Doesn't matter if Paris loses, doesn't matter if Atlanta loses, if I am correct. Yes, because those are 2 opponents that are already in. So then, or Toronto is out, but again, they need to lose. And then they need Boston Uprising to lose both of their games, right? Yeah, they need Boston to lose, or at least they need Boston to lose 1. They need Fusion to get 4-0'd to have a -3, which is the same as them. And then they need Chengdu, well, they're beating Chengdu. They need Shanghai to lose both games and have a negative map differential, whatnot. And they need Seoul Dynasty to lose 4-0 both games. But even after that, it puts them at a +2, which is better than Valiant's. So I don't think Valiant have a chance of making it. And Toronto Defiant's it's not any better than theirs. So no one would put Valiant and Toronto in playoffs regardless. But those are the teams that I think are making it. So I'm going to throw out what I think the standings are going to be right now. I think Shock are going to win both of their games 4-0 and complete the perfect stage. I think Shock have it to do it. Titans are going to be in second with a +21 map differential. Gladiators with a +13 because I think they're at they're at +12 right now, but they've always played Boston very close, no matter how good or bad Boston looked at the time. So I think that they'll be able to win it, but it's going to be in a game 5. So that's going to be a +13. Then New York and Spitfire, both 6-1, just Spitfire with a less of a map differential than New York. And then we have in 6, we have Dallas Fuel 5-2 with a +7 because they're going to 4-0 Mayhem. Then we have Spark 5-2 with a -2 because Spark is beating the Seoul Dynasty 3-2. And then finally we have the Hunters at 4-3 with a +4 because they beat Valiant 3-1. And with that, that is going to be my Overwatch League stage prediction video. If you do enjoy Overwatch League content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Peace.